decision of the court, and I have not contemplated at this point in time the necessity for an emergency, state of emergency.
Is that an option, though?
All I'm saying is that over the last 20 months, I have insisted that once the chairman of the election commission makes a declaration, I will comply with that declaration. I don't see how a state of emergency or the necessity for a state of emergency arises.
Well, the background to my question, sir, is in the context of your coalition saying that you were insisting on valid votes.
I have insisted on credibility from the start, and that is nothing new. But I don't see what that has to do with the state of emergency.
Julia Johnson. Mr. President, there have been calls for the scrapping of the elections given the anomalies and all the court issues and back and forth. Is that a possibility as well?
What I have insisted on is credibility. Other people have been making calls. I know what they've said. I said that I'm interested in having, as early as possible, a declaration by the chairman of the commission. And I don't run the election. The chairman of the commission, 6 commissioners, will determine the outcome of this process.
What about the smell of calls for you to accept or concede and that which is growing day by day? What are you prepared to tell those people who are calling for you to concede or step aside, whatever they want to call it?
I cannot concede because no declaration has been made. I pay attention to what the popular media say, but as far as the groundswell is concerned, everybody knows that the last 20 months I've been saying over and over again that I will abide by the declaration by the election commission. I will abide by the rulings of the court. People can rightfully challenge the ruling if they disagree with it, but once the court has finally ruled, we will obey the ruling of the court. So the groundswell is not a legitimate statement of what the law or the Constitution calls for. I follow the Constitution, I follow what the courts have said, and I await the decision of the Commission. I cannot follow the groundswell.
Mr. President of the Commission.
You had a chance to look at this commission.
Yeah.
Given the numbers that are increasing in terms of COVID and the new emerging hotspots, as president, is there a chance that you are going to just make more stringent measures to put in place to protect the rest of the citizenry that are not a part of those hotspots and even increase like the Army's presence on the borders? Is that a possibility?
Well, I mentioned there that it's a pity that because of social distancing, more people could be accommodated. But there is a raft of measures, and we adjust those measures almost on a daily basis. The NCTF, the task force, meets regularly, cabinet is briefed regularly, and we have, every ministry has a plan. That's why I mentioned this whole alphabet of plans, the CASE and the REAP and the CINI and PEARLS and so on. So every ministry has a plan. Now, if things get worse, for example, within the first month or so after patient 0, the hinterland was almost free of the virus. But because of the fact that people have been coming across the border, sometimes illegally, we have seen that there's been a spike in certain mining areas and logging areas. So naturally, we would respond, and we responded by creating the mobile emergency enforcement team, made up mainly of police, but also combining health personnel. So whenever there is a change in the situation, we respond almost immediately. And we don't want to make life uncomfortable, but it is a fact that unless people at an individual level, at a personal level, observe those rules of avoiding large groups, large crowds, of avoiding coming into contact with people in hospital or who might be affected. There are rules which have to be observed at a personal level. government cannot only enforce, the government is calling on the population to observe those measures. And if the measures are not observed, as is happening in other jurisdictions, the population is at risk. And only then would the government need to act. I mentioned the 4 E's. We need to engage, we need to educate, we need to explain to the person what is happening. All that must come before we enforce. Enforcement is the last stage, but engagement is the earlier stage. Education, explanation, these are things we need to pay attention to, and it affects all of us.
Mr. President, there have been some concerns over the magnitude of the expenditure for this hospital. Can you say whether the Auditor General has received the contract he requested? That he's been waiting for about several weeks.
Nothing has been done outside of the law. This matter was thoroughly ventilated at Cabinet. As you know, this used to be a hotel. The person who built the hotel was heavily indebted to the banks. And my understanding is that it's in receivership. So in financial terms, we don't have a final a bottom line, but the Minister of Public Health and the Minister of Finance are quite aware of the level of expenditure. And Cabinet is convinced that the expenditure is justified, given the health situation. And I hope that in a better time, you'll get the opportunity to walk around and see this is the most excellent facility.
Final question, Dennis, final question.
If the declaration is made that it includes votes that you consider to be invalid, what will be your position?
With respect, my statement on compliance with the declaration wasn't conditional. I didn't say if the rain is falling or the sun is shining, if it comes by day or by night. I am obliged to observe the declaration of the chairman of the Election Commission.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good day.
Have a good day, and happy Eid ul-Adha to the Muslims here, and Eid Mubarak. And